Hey guys, welcome back to another lesson. You know I like to talk about chord progressions and writing interesting non-cliche ones on this channel, and this is what I'm going to do today, hopefully. So we're going to do three things. First of all, I'm going to play you a short sketch of an orchestral piece I'm working on. Then, in the second part, I'll walk you through the chords. So I'll just show you how to play the chords themselves and what they are on the piano. And in the third part, I'll comment a little bit about how I think about this progression. And I hope you'll find this interesting, and let's get started. Okay, so now that you've listened to the piece, let me start by walking you through the different chords. This is a piece in the key of D, and it's a minor piece, and the first chord is a D minor. Then it's a B flat major to a C major, and then it repeats. B flat major, C major. Now we sort of break away from the mold and we have an E minor going to a D major over a bass of F sharp and to a G major. And then an A major followed by a B minor, G major, A sus4 to an A, just an A major. Then we go back to the root. We go back to a D minor. And we start climbing up. We have then a C major over a bass of E, followed by an F major, and then a G major, then an A minor, F major, G sus4, which resolves to a G major, and then a B minor, which goes to a G major, to an A sus4, and to an A major. And then we sort of resolve back to the root, which is a D minor, to a B flat major, to a C major. And this is exactly just like the opening part. So now that I've presented the progression itself, I'd like to talk a little bit about sort of how I think about it. And the first thing is that you'll probably notice is that there are chords in this piece that aren't part of the D minor scale. And when I say D minor there, by the way, just saying D minor isn't really enough to define the minor scales. There are different types of minor scales, and there are minor modes and so on. But the sort of the scale I start out with is this one. And it has in it, the chords D minor, B flat major, and C major. Now, E minor, for example, is not part of this scale because there's no B in the scale. And also, it's somewhere in the middle when there's a D major, right? Suddenly there's a D major and a D in a D minor key scale. So that's kind of weird, right? And then you have stuff like B minor, which really, again, isn't part of the D minor scale. There's this F sharp here, which is really a major third on the D minor scale has a minor third in it. So where do all of these chords come from? And the sort of the theoretical concept for them is what's called it's called modal interchange or borrowed chords. And these are basically chords that are taken from keys that have D as the root, but are not D minor necessarily. So I've taken chords from not D minor, but from D major. And D major has the D major chord, it has an E minor, it has a B minor. So all of these chords, most of them come from this D major scale, and I'm borrowing them into the D minor scale. And this sort of interchange between the minor and the major scale, I think really sort of helps this piece have I hope, fairly unique harmonic progression. And it's not just a cliche one. I don't just stay in the same scale for the entire song. So that's one important concept, and I actually have a more extensive video on the modal interchange concept, which I'll link to below in the comment. Sorry, not in the comment, but in the description. The second thing, though, I'd like to talk about, which I think is even more important than the concept of modal interchange, is the concept of a harmonic motif. And this entire piece is built really on just one of them, just one motif, which is really a sort of a repeating unit that gets repeated in different contexts or different ways. And the unit is the same unit that opens the song. It's a D minor to a B flat major to a C major. Now, if you transpose this, you can get things like A minor to F major to G major, or B minor to G major to A major. And this exact same motif appears in these different keys in this song. So instead of just thinking about this as modal interchange, I think about this as a motif that gets repeated in different ways or different contexts throughout the song. And this is sort of a very, I think, powerful way of building a melody or a song or a composition. And it's something that's been extremely popular. If you look at orchestral or classical music compositions, motifs are really a really strong driving force. And they've been kind of put aside or just lost a bit in more modern songwriting, which is, I think, a bit of a shame. So let's just go to wrap things up through the progression again, and I'll point out where this motif comes in. So we have the beginning, and this is the motif, and it repeats. Now there's sort of a climbing up motion, and here's the motif again. I've put it in a sus4 before the major, but it's really the same motif. Now I'm back to the root, and I'm climbing again. And here's the motif again. And now I transpose up a full tone, 2 semitones that is, and I repeat. And the great thing about this repetition is that it ends on A major, which resolves naturally to a D minor. It's a 5-1 progression, or it's a dominant to tonic progression, or whatever you choose to call it. And here's the motif again at the end. So this way of thinking about progressions in terms of motifs that repeat themselves, I think is a very interesting one that I hope you'll consider in your own compositions or writing or playing or whatever. That's it for today or for now, and I hope you learned something interesting, and I'll see you next time.